The New York City subway has gone through a lot of different reroutes and bullet label changes over the years. And one of the fun things about that is sometimes, whether it's from construction or just a foamer having fun, some of those signs get uncovered. And we're about to see some of those. First, OmniSmack for new Patreon subscriber Alex Acosta and continuing subscriber Jake McAlpin. And we're going to start here at the Church Avenue BQ stop. But before 2001, the D used to run this way. Cubby8 shared this r/NYC rail post with me on Patreon. The D bullet on this sign is orange rather than yellow, so that tells me it likely dates between 1988 and 2001. Because between 1986 and 1988, the north tracks of the Manhattan Bridge were closed for construction and the D was split into two parts. The orange D was in Manhattan during that time, and the yellow D stopped here. But in 1988, the D was reconnected, bulleted orange, and ran full-time between Norwood 205 Street in the Bronx and Coney Island Stillwell Avenue via the Brighton local line, which is where we are. But that was back when the orange Q was a thing. In 2001, the Manhattan Bridge North tracks closed again, and there was no D service in Brooklyn at all. And when the bridge finally reopened again in 2004, the D began the route through Brooklyn we know today via the West End line to Stillwell Avenue. So this sign is between 24 and 37 years old. Just for reference, this is what the sign's supposed to look like. It's 2025 and the local Q stops here. Welcome to current year. Speaking of a local Q, what are the odds that I would get this one? It's a Durkle! What a great opportunity to talk about the Diamond Q. The Diamond Q is a weird one. It was only used between 2001 and 2004 during the previously mentioned Manhattan Bridge North Tracks closure. While the D no longer serviced Brooklyn, the Circle Q made local stops in its place along the Brighton line, and this Diamond Q provided express service to Brighton Beach. So when the D train came back in 2004, there was no need for this Diamond Q bullet. You see them fairly often on old trains like this R46 I'm riding. Maybe the crew that changes the roll sign just wants to have a little fun. I call it a Durkle because the diamond denotes express, but this is going local. I combine diamond and circle. Because I'm clever like that, and my jokes are unmatched. The bullet on this train is between 21 and 24 years old. Next stop on the Archaeology train, Atlantic Avenue, Barclays Center. Here at Atlantic Terminal, right at the front of tracks 1 and 2 for the Long Island Railroad, you can find this wayfinding. This one I found myself, and there's a lot going on here. Let's start with the orange Q. That bullet was only used between 1988 and 2001. The Q is orange because during that time, in Manhattan, the Q used the 6th Avenue line. That's today's F train line. Then in 2001, the orange Q was replaced by the yellow Circle Q and the yellow Diamond Q bullets. And the one that's covered up there, that's a brown M. Now the M was brown for longer than it has been orange. Between 1979 and 2010, the brown M ran between Metropolitan Avenue and Queens through Manhattan on the Nassau line, that's the J, and continued past Broad Street to Brooklyn, where it connected with the West End line, that's the D train today, to terminate at Bay Parkway. Wild, right? As for the yellow bullets with the white letters, I think that's just a mistake. They stopped using white letters inside of yellow bullets back in the 1970s. This sign is not from like the 1970s, so I can only assume they made the N and the R white so it would shine through better because it's a backlit box. And the yellow R has never had a white letter inside, always been a black R inside the yellow bullet. So this sign is between 24 and 37 years old. And for reference, this is what the wayfinding is supposed to look like today. Okay, on to Bowling Green, and we're going to take the 4 train to get there.
Stand clear of the closing doors, please.
Sometimes on these strip maps, you can find some really weird old labels, but you can see where they have mostly successfully taped over the labels with appropriate signage. Thanks to JB Trainman on Blue Sky for posting this. I didn't see this one IRL, so I'll leave it to the comment section to do the archaeology for it.
Transfer is available to the 2, 3, and R trains.
With all the renovations happening here at Borough Hall, it'll be interesting to see if anything gets uncovered here, but not this day.
This is Bowling Green. Then in the Bronx-bound 4 train.
So there's two things I want to check out here at Bowling Green. One of them is one that I covered already on a previous Subway Secrets video, but another one is one that has been recently uncovered. First, we have to go to the Brooklyn-bound platform. We just gotta wait for this train to move out of the way so we can see. And there it is. This time I brought a camera with a long zoom to see if I can get a better picture of it. This sign hangs over the abandoned South Ferry shuttle platform, which was closed in February 1977. But for some reason, when the station was renovated in 1978 and 79, the closed platform was also renovated and received new signage. I'm guessing this sign is from that 1978 renovation project. So my best guess for this sign is 47 years old. And with that mission accomplished, let's see if we can find this picture posted by Jeremy Zorick on Blue Sky. Let's try this one first. A little bit of escalator fun never hurt anybody. Let's just go up the closest entrance. Okay, this is a new one. It was actually at a very old one, so let's find it. No luck here. Nope. And bingo! Found it right outside the Citibank. The black 5 and the pink 4 were wild, right? These colored bullets date all the way back to the birth of the New York City Transit Authority's first set of colored service labels. Even back then, it was like they just used decals. You can actually see where it's the same thing under this, but you can't get to it because it's covered by the green thing. November 26, 1967. It wasn't until June of 1979 that the 4 and 5 got their forest green color bullets. So this bit of uncovered history is anywhere from 46 to 58 years old. Now, the last stop is Times Square, where somebody was almost certainly just being funny, and I think it's hilarious. And a big Omni smack for brand new Patreon subscriber Elijah Kensler. Thank you.
Stand clear of the closing doors, please.
As probably all of you know, on the opposite platform, if you take the 6, if you stay on the 6, dang it, if you stay on the 6, you can actually go around the loop and see City Hall. I will put a history of the City Hall station at the end of this video.
Transfer is available to the M14 Select Bus Service.
Attention everyone. Officers from the NYPD are on the platform should you need their assistance.
These pillars beside me are pretty cool because they are from for a renovation of this station, and they have some pretty cool mosaic designs on them, but they have nothing to do with wayfinding anomalies, so I'm not going to do a history of them. Alright, this is going to be the most annoying to find out of all of them just because we're at Times Square. Not annoying because it's hard to find, but annoying because I have to dodge tourists to find it. So we'll just follow the wayfinding signs toward the 1, 2, 3, and we should be able to find our archaeological treasure there. If we can, man, get around all these people. Come on, go. Okay, we're here. This was another r/NYC rail post shared with me by Patreon subscriber Cubby8. That wasn't that hard. See, somebody just peeled off the paint. Oh, you didn't know there was a 9 train? Between 1989 and 2005, the 9 train interlined with the 1 train from South Ferry to Van Cortlandt Park, 242nd Street in the Bronx. It offered various forms of skip-stop or express service along this line. I say various forms because the MTA toyed with the 9 train station stops a couple of times before finally discontinuing 9 service for good on May 27, 2005. So this sign is anywhere from 25 to 36 years old. It's like whack-a-mole with the MTA. These little relics appear suddenly, and then the MTA eventually gets to repairing them and they're gone. As a bonus, here is a history of the City Hall subway station. If you're going to visit one of the oldest stations in the entire system, you have to become a Transit Museum member for a chance to purchase one of these tour tickets, so become a member. My friend Eli here is on the tour with me. Found it. Eli's done this before. Thank you. He said I should just skip the above ground part of the tour and go straight to the old City Hall station. So I'm just gonna blow through this. We saw the tops of the skylights, we went into the Brooklyn Bridge City Hall station, and we didn't pay the fare. This is the first time I have ever not paid a fare. I believe we're gonna arrive by 6 train. have arrived in 1904. City Hall Station was the southern terminal station of the original 28 subway stations. Back then, it was called City Hall Loop because that's what it is, a balloon loop that turned southbound trains back northbound. Riding the subway nowadays is no big deal, right? But back then, it was a huge event that drew a huge crowd. It took nearly 4 years of cut and cover construction to build it. Cut and cover was when they would cut a huge ditch in the ground and then add structural support to cover it back up, creating a continuous tunnel. The inaugural train departed from here at precisely 2:34 p.m. October 7th, 1904. Still loud, just like the South Ferry Loop. Really loud when the trains come through, squeaking on that curve. And it was operated by then mayor of the city, George McClellan Jr. The mayor of the city got to drive the very first, legally built anyway, subway train. And George must have been some kind of foamer because even before the subway was operational, he would get a bunch of his rich pals together and they traveled up the tracks using just hand cars. Can you imagine before the 2nd Avenue subway opened, Mayor de Blasio was down there pumping away on a handcart just because he couldn't wait to see it? Or when the first R211T open gangway train took off for its first trip, what if Mayor Adams was driving? Could I drive a train if I was the mayor? Seems like a worthwhile perk, if so. Mayor Supertoe. But whatever, where was I? All right. The most beautiful station. I'll get into some really cool details later, but first let's check out the main event. Right here we have the main station mezzanine. Look at the ceiling tiles. You might remember this herringbone pattern from my Subway Secrets 2 video. They're Guastavino tiles. Indeed, the entire station was designed by Raphael Guastavino. Check out this gorgeous dome. I like big domes and I cannot lie. Architects can't deny. When we walk into an itty-bitty space and that round thing's in our face, we get strong. There are a total of 12 Guastavino vaults through this station. That's these archways here. And all these thin layers of terracotta tiles were mortared together to make these vaults super strong. Little in the middle, but the tiles are stacked. And right above us here, in the center of old Raphael's dome, is the Oculus skylight. And while I didn't get a chance to ask on the tour, I think this is the reason the New York City Transit Museum calls this station the jewel in the crown. It looks like a jewel. This station was, after all, designed to be the showpiece of the entire subway system. The ticket booth was right here on this wall, and there was a fare control fence between it and the platform stairs. I forgot to ask about this pattern on the floor. If you know what this pattern's all about, leave in the comments. Enough about the mezzanine. Let's have a look at the platform. The first things I noticed when I came back down from the stairs were these 3 bronze plaques. I think you know why these are here. Politicians and designers just love being able to slap their names on infrastructure accomplishments, right? And this be that. On them, you'll find the names of figures involved in the original IRT construction, so freeze frame if you're interested in reading them. Also, check out the lighting. The skylights are awesome, albeit kind of dim, but any natural light purposely let into an underground station is always welcome. Looking at you, Jamaica Van Wyck. Hashtag open the windows. But aside from the natural light, just look at these chandeliers. Name another subway station with chandeliers. I mean, in New York City. I feel like I'm at a black tie function. Only problem is they have these gross white LED bulbs in them. They're not great for the vibe. It looks like there used to be more lights on these arms reaching out from the far wall, but I guess rewiring those didn't make it into renovation plans. Even fully lit, this is still a dimly lit station when compared to stations in current revenue service. But even though City Hall Station is out of commission, one of the worst kept secrets of the New York City subway is that if you stay on the southbound 6 train after the Brooklyn Bridge City Hall Station, you can catch a glimpse of this station as the train loops back around to go north again. I've demonstrated this loop ride on this channel a couple of times, most recently on my All Trains 2023 video. But let's actually talk about the loop's layout. You all know where City Hall is, but did you know back in 1904 there used to be a huge post office on the opposite end of the park from City Hall? So the tracks were designed in a really tight loop that had to fit in between the buildings. This presented a couple of challenges. First, the track had to be tilted slightly toward the inner wall of the loop away from the platform for trains to pass through safely. Might not seem like much, but at the time, Scientific American magazine announced that one of the more important tasks of constructive engineering which the subway presented is solved. The second challenge was, well, just look at that platform gap as the 6 train passes. Imagine having to step over that to board. Well, at first they didn't have to deal with it. The IRT's very first composite subway cars only had 2 doors, one on each end. So the gap was kind of a non-issue. But trains were rebuilt with an additional center door, and suddenly the gap was a huge issue. How did they solve this? Did they install the first ever platform gap fillers? No, they just only opened 1 door per car at this station, and staff assisted passengers on and off. Scientific American had no comment on this solution. The Wikipedia entry for City Hall Station says they did eventually install movable platform extensions, but it's weird that they're not still here. Were they manual gap fillers like the one I walked across when I got here? There are signs of extensions having been removed from the platform edge, but I couldn't find any information about what they looked like. As more people started riding the subway, longer trains were needed, and longer platforms for those trains. And because of the constraints of its initial design, poor City Hall Station couldn't handle either of those. The city, which took over IRT operations in 1940, wanted to operate 10-car trains, but City Hall could only fit 6 cars. And they decided the extensive renovations that would have been required to fit 10 cars just didn't make sense given the station's minimal use and its close proximity to Brooklyn Bridge City Hall Station. By the 1930s, it was little used, and during World War II, the skylights were blacked out for safety. By the end of its run, City Hall Station wasn't open at night or on Sundays, and only recorded about 800 entries per day in its final year in 1945. And so, December 31st, 1945, 41 years after opening to big celebrations, City Hall Station was taken out of revenue service. RIP. F to pay respects. Through the years, there have been lots of attempts to reopen City Hall Station in some capacity. Did you know that in 1965, this was considered a possible location for a transit museum? Eventually, as we all know, in 1976, the New York Transit exhibit opened in the abandoned Court Street station in Brooklyn, and that became the New York Transit Museum. Amazing sponsors of this tour. Become a Transit Museum member and get yourself on one of these tours. Next, in the 1980s, Mayor Ed Koch wanted to allow a restaurant to open down here, but ultimately the NYPD nixed the idea. But how cool would that have been? I mean, it wouldn't have been the quietest dining experience, but a cool one. Just, chuck in a soundproof window. In 1995, the Transit Museum decided to try again, proposing to reopen the station as a branch of the museum. How cool would that have been? By 1997, they had secured funding through grants. They got the ball rolling. MTA officials started refurbishing the station's corridors and offered more funding, and then Giuliani said no. So there was no museum annex, and museum tours of the station ceased for several years. But the MTA did spend $2 million repairing structural issues in the station. In 2004, one of the street entrances was restored and the station was opened for the centennial celebration. And City Hall Station was listed on the National Register of Historic Places that year. Then the Transit Museum popped its head in again, wanted to annex it for the museum, and suddenly there were security concerns. No, come on! But at least by the mid-2000s, the museum was able to resume tours of the City Hall Station, although only museum members were allowed on the tours. These tickets are hard to get, and they require government-issued ID and the works when you arrive. Become a Transit Museum member, because that's the only way you'll see the station in person. I'm not even telling you all the stuff I learned on this tour, like what the entry kiosks to the station looked like and why they look that way, or why the third rail at this station is right next to the platform rather than on the far side of the tracks like all other stations, or where the skylights are located, on the surface. Lots of great reasons to become a Transit Museum member and get on this tour. And that's the abridged story of how the jewel in the crown of the New York City subway system became a railroad ruin. Fun times, right? It's one of my favorite things about the subway, seeing relics of what used to be. It's like whack-a-mole with the MTA. These little relics appear suddenly, and then the MTA eventually gets to repairing them and they're gone. Remember, leave your car at home. Take the Diamond Q to Times Square and then take the 9.